Welcome. The Trump administration's EPA has focused on repealing and replacing clean air laws with weaker standards. These rollbacks mean more, not less, air pollution falling upon communities throughout New York and the Adirondacks from coal-fired power plants in the Midwest. New York's 6 million acre Adirondack Park, its waters, forests, and communities have suffered the worst acid rain damage in the United States, including the chemical sterilization of hundreds of high-elevation lakes and ponds. A review of national emissions data provided by the U.S. EPA and compiled by the Adirondack Council shows that between 2017 and 2018, emissions of sulfur dioxide increased by more than 1,000 tons at each of the 16 coal-fired power plants in 9 states whose emissions create acid rain and smog in New York. First, Mr. Walk, what types of impacts would the GAIN Act have on air pollution levels in downwind states like New York?
Thank you, Senator. As I testified, this bill would allow very significant air pollution increases, and we know that the pollution is carried by wind to downwind states. The Trump administration has denied pleading requests from New York to protect the air quality in New York from upwind power plants. My testimony has at the back maps of the really shocking, stunning number of coal-fired power plants in this country today that still lack modern air pollution controls like scrubbers and those for smog. Those plants have been grandfathered in many cases since the 1940s and 1950s. And it's in their economic interest to run longer and harder, to increase air pollution, and to continue to evade controls. And that hurts downwind states like New York and Delaware and Maryland. It hurts the Adirondacks. And this bill would make air pollution worse, not better.
And if enacted, will residents of New York have to worry about more frequent acid rain events in their communities?
Yes, and the reason is that this bill increases long-term annual air pollution levels of nitrogen oxides and sulfur dioxide, which contribute to and cause acid rain, as well as a number of chronic health problems from long-term exposure to these pollutants, including cardiovascular and respiratory problems and even premature death.
Well, I would like to issue a standing invitation to my Republican colleagues on this committee to spend some time with me in the Adirondacks so you can see why these impacts would be horrible for that region. Mr. Walk, as you know, ground-level ozone forms on hot, sunny days when pollution from cars, power plants, consumer products, and other sources react with sunlight. Ozone is most likely to reach harmful levels in urban areas on hot, sunny days and have known health effects. People most at risk from breathing air containing ozone include people with asthma, children, older Americans, and people who are active outdoors, especially outdoor workers. What effect does increased pollution from power plants have on ozone formation and other air quality problems in states that are downwind to the emitting source?
So coal-fired power plants are one of the largest sources in the United States of a smog-forming pollutant called nitrogen oxides, which in addition to contributing to acid rain causes respiratory problems and even premature deaths, we know from the latest literature from ozone. We know that the downwind states are suffering from air pollution that they cannot control from big power plants in the Midwest and upwind in the Southeast as well. Another dirty little secret of the Clean Air Act, I'm afraid, is that even plants that are equipped with these controls are allowed to turn them off after they are charging customers for these controls that they are allowed not to operate, including on summer days when there are very high ozone levels that hurt New Yorkers.
Can you expand on the public health implications for people in states like New York?
Yes, again, we know that some of these types of air pollution fine particle pollution in particular are unsafe at any level, and so that even in areas that are nominally meeting these standards, people are dying, people are suffering heart attacks and strokes. Parts of New York have some of the highest asthma rates of anywhere in the country, which affects children in particular. And then, of course, we have a lot of very toxic pollutants like mercury and lead that come from these power plants that are landing in waterways. And it's a full suite of health problems that Americans are still suffering, especially from these large, uncontrolled, and poorly controlled coal plants.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.